Welcome to Paranormal Central, broadcasting live from Central California with your hosts Jeffrey Gonzalez and Alan Thomas. Broadcasting video worldwide at ParanormalCentral.net and broadcasting audio on the Dark Matter Network at ArtBell.com. Are you ready to witness something that you cannot explain?
I'm looking for you. You're looking for me. We have to decide what it will be. Can it be true? Can I believe the unexplained? Look into the sky. You realize you're not alone. Open your eyes. You can find the trail that controls.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Paranormal Central, coming to you live somewhere in the Nevada Triangle, but we are stationed in California, so break out the map and see where we are. My name is Jeffrey Gonzalez, I am your host. Thank you for showing up today wherever you may be around the world, broadcasting on livestream.com and on the Dark Matter Network at artbell.com. Welcome everybody. To my right, my co-host, that would be to your left, Mr. Alan Thomas.
Hello, everyone.
And womaning the board somewhere in the corner, because she has been a bad girl, Emerald Bonilla.
That sounded all bad, Jeff.
Yeah?
That was all bad. But hey, guys, what's up?
All right, we're going to have some fun tonight. Our Squatch reporter, Danny Valderrama, is out of commission. He is on the couch, recuperating, because he had a long week. His daughter, one and only daughter, got married yesterday, so we want to say congratulations to Paisley and the family. And that's it. No more daughter. No, actually, I think they're moving. Well, she's stationed out of somewhere in Oregon or somewhere out there. I think she's in the Coast Guard, you guys. Really that? She's in the Coast Guard, so that's awesome. So, all right, we are going to have an author on tonight. Her name is Heidi Hollis. You might know who she is. She has written several books, but the main focus on tonight would be the Hat Man, Shadow People.
Maybe some of you have seen one.
Maybe
The
so.
Hat Man.
So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that tonight. We're going to get her on in about 10 minutes. So if you are watching us at livestream.com, thank you very much. If you are listening to us on the Dark Matter Network at artbell.com, welcome. If this is your first time, where have you been? We've been doing this a long time. And I know this is probably going to be the first time you've heard of us, but hopefully this won't be your last and you'll stick around. Our show is 2 hours long. Tonight we will be 2 hours long, but usually what's going to happen is next month sometime we're going to be moving to a new studio and we're going to be doing 3 hours. And that's going to be cool. We have a lot of stuff that we talk about, and I can't wait for that. So, another reason why we're moving over to the new studio is we have been given the green light here in the central part of California, which is probably over 2 million homes. We're going to get our own half-hour, 30-minute show on TV. Talk show. So what you are watching right now on live stream is going to be transferred over to television, but in a bigger set. And we're going to have, just like Jimmy Kimmel and all those guys, our own in-house live band. As a matter of fact, you probably heard them bringing us into our show. They are called Possessed Tranquility. And they are an awesome band. As a matter of fact, they just released their album, and it is on iTunes. Go and buy it. And as a matter of fact, they actually wrote a song for our show called The Unexplained, and that's what you heard coming in, and that's what you will hear going out. So go take a listen, and all their songs are really good. I believe it's only $10 for the album. Go to iTunes. Again, the band is called Possessed Tranquility. So yeah, our set is being built. And if you are a friend on Facebook, you probably heard me rant like crazy this morning, which is kind of funny because I got over 105 likes just on that. They were putting our set together last night, and they applied wallpaper. Well, you know what? The roof was put on the set, and nowhere in the forecast it stated that we were going to have any rain. So therefore, they did not put any covers on the roof. Therefore, the wallpaper was placed, and guess what happened at 5 o'clock this morning? It rained cats and dogs, and I was furious. And as you can tell, if you are a friend of mine on Facebook, you can listen to basically what I said to all the meteorologists around there. So I was bummed. So now they are redoing it right now as we speak, and I think it's going to turn out a lot better than the wallpaper itself. The person in charge, Ariel, is actually related to me, and she has graduated from FIDM. It's FIDM. That's college in LA where all of the people go to learn set designs and movie making, all that kind of stuff. Well, she graduated there with honors. So she's out there right now, busting her behind, putting up the new, I don't want to say wallpaper, but new backdrop, which I think is going to be really cool looking. So I can't wait for that. In about 7 minutes, we're going to get on the phone and talk to Heidi Hollis, and we are going to get into Shadow People and the Hat Man, and talk about a lot of stuff that surround that certain subject, which is just not Shadow People and the Hat Man, because there's a lot of stuff that surround that. Now, I know she has also a talk show somewhere out there, and actually Alan was on there at one time, I think about a month ago, right?
Yeah. Talked about Bigfoot.
And you know what? Heidi Hollis also said that she actually seen Bigfoot a couple times, I think. So we're going to talk about that as well. So we have a really long, we have a lot of stuff to talk about with her. We're going to have her on until about 6:30, 6:45 our time, and then what I want to do is talk about some stuff that we didn't get to talk about last week that I want to basically show you and tell you guys about, because it's been really bugging me, and I think it's really cool. And I'm actually going to open up tonight about a certain subject that I've never actually told anybody ever in my life except my wife, and I recently told her about it, and she went, now that's creepy. So I want to basically open up and tell you guys all about what just recently I found out. And I think you guys are going to trip out on this. So, okay, so since we don't have no Squatch report, I want to talk a little bit more about upcoming episodes and stuff like that. In our show, in our TV show, I'm hoping that it's going to go national at the beginning of next year. I think it's just going to, right now, it's just going to hit in the California area. And I think we're going to work out a deal right now where it's going to be shown here in central parts of California, but that's on the Fox network. I didn't tell you that. It's going to be either on the Fox network or the CW.
Or both.
Because when we had the pilot played last time, they actually showed it at both networks, which is like, woo! That was actually kind of cool. So instead of 2 million people, probably more than that actually saw it if you were watching at that certain time. So the Fox network is going to run it, and I'm hoping that it's going to get out to the rest of you guys who are actually watching and listening to us on the East Coast and the central part of the United States, actually. Now, and I know you guys who are watching and listening to us around the world, because I know we have a lot of fans out there, I think what's going to happen is we're going to probably end up putting them on YouTube after they air here on TV, and that way you guys can go to it. Now, you had an idea about Roku. What's that?
Yeah, I don't know if everybody knows what that is, but I'm thinking about building a Roku channel, right? And then the people with the Roku could actually tune in and watch all the shows.
Right.
And I'll even be putting on, I have like 5 years of shows in our computer, and I'm going to try to figure out how to put the music, and edit it all up and put them in there. But I will have all the ones, the last year or so.
A lot of people don't realize that, I actually started this, oh my God, in 2008. 2007, 2008. So we're talking almost 7 years ago. Holy mackerel, I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, a long time.
So, we just started on the Dark Matter Network at artbell.com just in December. So we've been on the artbell.com websites for now 9 months. Yeah. But prior to that, I was on live stream
5 years.
5 years,
least,
okay. So there are a lot of shows that are recorded on hard drive, you guys. And we had a lot of them, and there was a lot of good ones in there, too.
A lot of good
A
ones.
lot of good ones on there.
And then if all you guys that really want to go back, one of our viewers found you could find them on Blog Talk still under SPS.
Oh, my gosh.
Singer Paranormal Society.
That's when Emerald and I were, like, around on the kitchen table and on the laptop with earphones and microphones on the earphones, totally rookie-ish. I mean, and we were doing our talk show.
And that was like 7 years ago.
That was a long time
I
ago.
don't even remember that.
Huh?
I don't even remember.
You don't remember that? Remember,
I'm sick, remember? I don't
I think that's all the time that you were on drugs and all that
No,
kind of
I wasn't.
No, just kidding.
She was sniffing her soup.
Yeah, right now, if you happen to hear Emerald eating soup over there.
Or the sniffling, that's me.
Emerald is a little sick and under the weather, so she's like munching on some soup over there. What is it? What are you eating?
Chicken noodle, of course.
Chicken noodle. I would expect menudo or chicken or tortilla soup or something.
You're hecka racist.
what? Wait a minute. I've heard you say you eat
that
menudo.
stuff's amazing, yeah. But
Okay, so you have to understand my last name is Gonzalez, so I do eat menudo and I love it. And when Emerald told me she eats menudo, I freaked out and going, really?
oh, it's so good.
I've never heard of women actually liking menudo.
My mom makes. I'll have to bring you some from my mom.
Well, thank you very much. It's like, how long have we known each other and you never brought me menudo from your mom?
She makes it not even once a year.
Like during New Year's or something?
Christmas. I'll bring you some.
Okay, you better.
Anyway.
Or else you're fired and you're
You
not going to
don't
make
pay
any
me
more
enough.
money.
Yeah, you bring it, we'll give you a raise.
We'll give you a raise.
Okay.
And you know what? Emerald sent out all the books last week, so I'm hoping that everybody has gotten them by now. And I apologize for the long wait, for me sending them. It's just I am really,
swamped. He is swamped.
I am very, very much
He
swamped.
works for a living too.
Yes, hopefully one of these days I won't be able to work where I work. And for those who don't know where I work for AT&T Telephone. I am a telephone technician. I climb telephone poles and I do all that for a living. So that's why when we go out Bigfooting, I'm actually gapping up trees and putting our motion detectors 15, 20 feet up in the sky and aiming them down so that way the Bigfoot don't see them. And they probably hear them anyways and smell them anyways, but at least
watch us put them up there.
watch them put them up there. So all right, you know what? Let's go ahead and give Heidi a call, and we're gonna get into some cool stuff tonight, and that would be the Hat Man, Hat People, and Shadow People, and a little bit of religion thrown in there, I think.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, and that's gonna tick off Emerald. But you know what?
Doesn't tick me off.
Okay.
It's a debatable subject.
That's right. That's what we're gonna get into. Debatable subjects here. All right, she's gonna. So so I can't wait. So here we go. We're gonna put her on. And she's having a good time talking to Heidi on the phone over there. Heidi, huh?
She got me.
Yeah. What did she say? She goes, "Hello, Domino's
Wrong
Pizza."
number.
Really? Heidi, you there?
I sure am. How are you guys?
How's it going,
Hi,
Heidi?
Hey.
wrong number. That was funny. You should have said Domino's Pizza or Strawhead Pizza or something. That's good. All right. So how's it going, Heidi?
Life is grand. Everything kind of crashed just before I got here, but I'm okay now.
What do you mean crashed?
My phone line thing was plugged in wrong. I'm like, why is my phone dead? I'm like, hold on.
Oh.
So I had to rewire everything. It was backwards.
Wow.
It's all good.
Okay, well, it's all good. And you are actually, we hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, you sound good.
It sounds really good. So that's awesome. Whatever you're doing, don't stop. Just keep talking the way you are. So,
Okay.
All right.
You guys are a little bit quiet for me, but it's okay.
Oh,
I'll
well, I'll
closer
talk
to
really
the
close.
mic.
So how's that? Let's see. I'm trying to see.
I've been looking forward to this show. I've been waiting and waiting.
Yeah.
And finally.
So, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about the reason why you're here. You're an author of many books.
Indeed.
Well, name them, please. I have them listed here, but I just want you to go ahead and list them for me.
Oh, boy. Is this a quiz?
It's
Anybody
a
taking
quiz,
notes?
and if you fail, we hang up on you.
Oh, crap. Okay, I got one. Secret War, which was the first book written on shadow people.
Okay.
And then I have Jesus is No Joke,
Okay.
which is based on Jesus encounters that I personally had, though I was a skeptic of such things.
And we will talk about that tonight.
Yep. And Picture Prayers, which is a different method of prayer, as was shown to me by an angelic presence, I guess you could say.
Wow.
Cool.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, so that's another fun one.
Yeah.
And then I have The Hat Man, which is one of my more recent books. Well, actually, it's my most recent. And I also have Diary Blog of the Fickle Finders, which is a graphic novel I cartooned that is based on faith to help kids kind of get a grasp on it. Although I've only heard from grown men who like comics, so it's okay though.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it kid friendly, that particular book? Or
it is kid friendly,
okay.
And I've actually geared it towards anybody who wants to get their faith up a little bit, because when you're standing in the face of evil things, how else are you going to combat it? So
sure.
I'm like, let's start from the ground up and get the kids perking up. And I have an adult version coming out quite soon. I would gather it's done probably in a couple of weeks. I might just toss it out there. We'll see. It's called The Other F Word.
Okay, what? Do I have to put my finger on the mute button here really quick, or
no?
No, I don't swear. I'm a Christian woman.
What is the other?
If she swears, you don't got to put it on your finger on the button.
What is the other F word?
Well, it's faith, of course.
Oh, okay. Okay, just want to make sure, because right now Art Bell's people are like this.
Okay. Oh, he's like holding his finger over the button.
Yeah, because they're like, whoa. Okay, cool.
And by the way, I do swear, so there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then you'll fit perfectly in the show.
Well, you know that all guys are like kids too. That's why you're getting all the guys on that one book, because we're just guys are just a bunch of big kids. That's it.
Yeah, it's cool though. I mean, it's like I was hoping it would appeal to adults as well. Though I do have an adult version coming out that is more. It has comics and silly stuff in there too, but it's also about our silly approaches to trying to get faith down really good and trying to figure it out, and all of our flubs and flops and what goes into that.
Now, you were not a religious person.
Nope.
I mean, what changed you? What happened?
I was raised, Christian, and it was just kind of one of those things you did on Sunday, and it was a mini vacation for my parents. So it was just something that we did. Like, darn it, I got to do this on Sundays. But I'd experienced so many paranormal things, though, growing up, that I just kind of started, looking more towards that as being more of a reality than anything. So it was shocking to myself as a young adult. It's like my friends that were, still religious, going to church on Sundays. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Probably if I stepped in a church, I might start on fire. I don't know, but say a prayer for me anyways, just for fun. I had my faith in God.
Right.
But it was more, how can you say, it was more of a memorized things, So it was in there. It was in me. But what actually happened to me while I was still a college student, and I had just finished the Secret War book, my very first book on the shadow people, positive and negative alien beings and whatnot were in that book as well. And I was just putting the finishing touches on it when I had my first encounter with Jesus. Totally unexpected, not asked for, nothing of the sort. It really was a tremendous experience for myself because, I wasn't looking for it. I really wasn't. And I was actually such a skeptic of such things happening. People were reporting seeing Jesus in their bowl of soup to a tree trunk. I was like, really? I literally put in my book, The Secret War, oh, God, forgive me for this. I put, if Jesus were around, I probably would have seen him by now. I did. I wrote that in the book. Yeah, that was bad.
Well, something was wrong with you too when he showed up too, and he fixed it, didn't he?
Emerald's cracking up over here.
Something like that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you guys. What was that?
Something was wrong with you too, and when he showed up, he fixed it.
Yeah. Actually, I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit more of the juicier details. So, on this first encounter, and I'll tell you about what he did for me because I saw him 4 times in total. But this very first encounter was mind blowing to me, and to such an extent that it changed everything for me. Absolutely changed everything for me. And I was lucky that he came when he did, because I was just about to put that book out with that quote in there saying, if Jesus were around, I probably would have seen him by now. And I think he saw I was about to make a huge mistake and potentially mislead a lot of people. And I was lucky I got a chance to rewrite that chapter before I published the book. But anyways, so I was in college, and I worked in a bakery. So 5 a.m. till noon, I would always come home and, take a nap after work. It was just, it's too darn early. So I told my college roommate, turn your TV down. I'm going to go take a nap. It's like, okay. And it was a summer day, and went into my bedroom and just went to, lay down on my bed. And this is just as dramatic as it sounds. I laid on my bed, and it was as if I fell straight through it.
Wow.
And it was so shocking to me. I'm like, whoa, what happened here? I fell through a hole in the bed. I'm like, well, hold on. I'm not in my bedroom. I didn't fall off the bed, and I'm looking around, and it was so strange to me because what I saw was a rendition of the outside of the front of my parents' home. And I'm like, okay, Heidi, somehow you drove to your parents' house. You don't remember doing it. And this guy started walking towards me at a distance. I'm like, oh, this family friend named Quincy, he was going to meet up. Yeah. I was totally trying to figure it out why this whole scenario was playing out for me. And it didn't take long for this gentleman to get not even really close. And recognition hit me so hard. Me being the silly person that I am, humor is my best friend, and I just put my face in my hands like, oh my God, is that him, And this man walks up to me, and I've got my face in my hands still, and I'm like, oh boy, why is he here? And I heard him say hello, as if he was going to talk about the weather or something in the next breath or something, and I still had my face in my hands. I'm like, well, hello. And he goes, do you know who I am? If you knew who I was, you would not hesitate to say it. And, I get goosebumps every time I talk about it.
Wow.
And I started to pull my hands from my face, and I'm like, well, you're Jesus. And I don't speak Spanish, by the way, guys. I don't know why I said Jesus. And as I took my hands away from my eyes and I looked up at him, I saw just the most magnificent sight I've ever seen in my life. Long white robe, bright like sunlight coming from behind his face, and his face was shadowed. And I was just in absolute awe, like, you see those movies where you think you hear music, and just the impact hitting me. And I mean, he started speaking about his life, what he was aiming to do, and how so much needed to be done. And as he's speaking, I'm like getting images, I'm hearing words, but it was more feelings, and though I could hear his voice speaking as well. And I'm like still my silly self going, what is going on here? I'm looking around. I'm like, this is happening, Heidi. You're really here. You are really here.
Wow.
And I'm like, I looked to my side, to my left, and I'm like, why is the ground so close to me? And I'm like, I exclaim in my head, I'm like, I'm on my knees. I don't even remember going on my knees. And I guess he must have been like, what is she doing? Because he got quiet, and I'm like literally like a kid getting caught passing notes in class or something. I like looked up from the ground, looked up at him, I'm like, and I'm stuttering because I'm just so enamored, and I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? And I stood up, and he said, well, first you need to show us some things. And I'm like, us? I'm like, oh my gosh, he's talking about his daddy. And I'm just like, this is really going on. And he started talking, and I knew that there was information being told to me, but it was as if a glass went between us. I could see his lips moving, but I wasn't hearing the words. But I know he was like putting it there with me still. And he told me that I needed to finish writing my book and not to be concerned with what others thought, to know that he'll be there to give me the words. And I knew that he had to go. And I was so like, oh my gosh, think of something smart to ask Heidi. He's leaving now, And he starts to walk away, to disappear into this wall. And I'm like, well, what is my real name? And I heard him laugh lightly. and he said, "I love you very much, Ilea." And I get goosebumps, and
Wow.
and I'm just like, Ilea, I gotta remember that. I gotta remember that. And it was such a tremendous experience. Like, I started to come back to my body, and the love trickles that come from him had totally overwhelmed me to the point where I didn't want to move. It felt so good. I just didn't want that love soup to go away. And I was laying there in my bed just like, oh, this is beautiful, and I have to say too, a lot of people, when I've shared this experience and have read my book, Jesus is No Joke, they're like, well, how do you know it was him? And I tell people, I could have been blind and seen it was him, because every cell in my body screamed his name. There was no mistaking who this person was that stood before me. So, absolutely mind-blowing. But that was the first experience. There was more that happened immediately after that, but what you mentioned in regard to a healing that he's done for me.
Right.
Yeah, just, for 12 years I suffered from ulcerative colitis, which is similar to Crohn's, but affects a different part of the digestive system. And absolutely a horrible disease. And, I was, it can increase your chances of cancer and all sorts of complications and issues. And he showed up. And he didn't come physically, but me seeing his white robe and everything, but in a light, his presence was there. I recognized it. There's no denying his presence. It just isn't. It's love and the name and everything that encompasses who he is hit me. And I propped myself up on my elbows, my bed. I'm like, whoa, there's a bright light in my room. And it was like a ray of sunlight was hitting my feet. And I'm like, whoa, it's him. Because his presence is just blowing me away. And I watched the sunlight go from my feet and break off and start spinning, going up my legs, and started spinning in my stomach area. And I'm like, and when it hit my stomach area, all I can compare the feeling that happened when it hit my stomach was, when you're on a hammock in the summer swinging, and like his love pushed me so just whoop right out of my body, and I was like a hammock that had turned upside down, and I'm looking at myself laying there. And I'm like, whoa, what is he doing? I'm like wondering, and I got a better view now. I'm out of my body. I'm watching him. And I thought of, is he healing me? And it's just so strange. Like, us as human beings, we feel so not worthy. And and other things are playing in my head, and I'm just like, nah, he wouldn't do that for me. What's my next thought? The second I thought that, the second I doubted him and what he was doing, the light turned off. I slammed that right back into my body, and I sat up, and I'm like patting my stomach, like, whoa, where'd he go? What happened? What's going on here? Why did he leave? Why did he come? I would have so many questions. I was still very sick for a long period of time following this. And I'm like, that just doesn't make sense. He didn't say anything. He didn't even show up where I saw his robe or anything. But it was him. I had no doubt about that. And to make a long story short, I ran a UFO and paranormal discussion group for a very long time in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area out of one of the libraries. And, you get so many interesting people that come through. And a lady had come through seeking healing from aliens, like asking how can she conjure up aliens to heal her, because she had so many health issues. And somebody, I got to back up a second. I had gone to my doctor prior to this, and my doctor said, for the first time in 12 years, I don't see the disease. I'm like, what? What do you mean you don't see the disease? He's like, I don't understand. He's like, maybe we misdiagnosed you, or I don't know. And I'm like, no, I've been sick for 12 years. There's no way. And I was still sick at the time. So this lady comes to the meeting, and she's seeking this, and somebody perked up, you know, to respond to this lady seeking healing from an alien. And I said, dear, only Jesus heals. And a light went off in my head, and I'm like, that's what he did. And I spoke up that second, and I said, you know what, guys? I think Jesus healed me. And everybody just stopped and turned and looked at me like, what are you talking about, Heidi? And I'm like, and I told them about my experience. And do you know, from that moment on, I never had another symptom.
Wow.
But I was sick up until that point because I had doubted him that whole time. It took for me to acknowledge what he had already done.
Right.
Just
That's so
mind-blowing.
amazing.
What was the symptoms of that disease that you had?
It's stomach cramps, it's running to the bathroom, it's feeling nauseous all the time, extreme pain, abdominal pain. It's very much like Crohn's, and it causes ulcers on your legs, ulcers through your intestines. In fact, they were trying to dual diagnose me as having Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. There is no cure for it. The cure is removing your innards, essentially. So it's just pretty brutal disease.
I'm jealous, totally jealous. I want to see him. You know, I talk to him all the time. You'd think he would like stop in, you know.
So why do you think he came down and spoke to you? Is it because of the book? I mean, obviously you think it was because of the book, and the things you were about to write in the book.
You know, I am, you know, I'm nobody special. I've always said, you know, a lot of people pray for healing and it just doesn't happen, and we're like, darn it, you know, what's going on? You know, I know that he knew what I would do with the information. That I'm not a person to sit on things and hoard it and keep it to myself if I think it can help somebody else. So I've met so many people over the years who do such things. It crushes me. People that have had the most incredible experiences, whether by aliens or, you know, near-death experiences or angel encounters, Jesus encounters, and whatnot, and they keep it to themselves. And I'm like, wow, I cannot do that. You know, we're on this planet to help each other along, and if I can help in any small way, and for crying out loud, Jesus stopped by and asked me to do him a favor. I wasn't gonna sit on it. I would hate to have to answer for that, but I just, I know that he knew what I would do with it.
Okay, so with that incident happening to you, you know, and I told you when we were texting each other this morning that, you know, I was brought up Catholic and, you know, very, very, very religious family, even to this day. And when people around you, friends, relatives, they know where you came from, what you did when you were a kid, and all of a sudden now you are talking about aliens and you're talking about UFOs and, you know, shadow people, demons, all that kind of stuff. You know, people think that all of the above has to do with evil, demons. And you know, people were telling me, you know, why are you getting involved in this evil stuff? And that's the way my friends all, you know, think about the subject, and because they just don't think all of the stuff that we talk about on this show and what you talk about is for real, and it's all got to be the devil. It's all got to be evil. And you know, you talk about shadow people, you talk about aliens, and that's where I want to go, you know, with this tonight. I mean, obviously you've written several books, and all of the above is involved here. So with you writing that book, what do you think, you know, these aliens, these shadow people, all of this are? If there is a God and a Jesus and a higher above, what is all this then that is surrounding us?
You know, if I had a black crayon, they would all get the same color. I would just color it all in.
Yep.
Negative aliens, negative shadow people, all of that. I mean, it's, to me, if something is negative, they're related, no matter what it is that people call it. And, and something that I have to say, too, when it comes to friends, family, and naysayers, flapping their gums about things they really don't know about what's fully going on. I used to be so like, no, guys, you really got to get this stuff, and then I started realizing it's like, look, I know how to clear a room and scare people to death so they won't sleep for weeks if I wanted to with some of the stories I've got, but they're not learning anything. They're closing their eyes and covering their ears and running out of the room. But I found when I started treating the subjects, all of these subjects, as I would any other topic with, my sense of humor, being who I am, using myself as an example, and not backing down. I mean, so they make fun of me. So what? If they make fun of for worse things. So it's like, it really doesn't bother me to that extent. And I feel sorry for the people that really push their agenda to, try to put you down for what it is that you do. But I don't get angry with them because I know one day they'll be knocking on my door, which has happened quite a bit, saying, oh my gosh, I've had something happen. Well, you were right. But, it's all about, helping people. And it's not about, self-serving and trying to say, well, I know more than you do. No, it's like when I treated these things as a regular topic and not paranormal, but as a normal thing, that's when I saw eyebrows being raised, questions being asked, people learning things. So, and that's why I like to approach the things the way that I do. But you asked about these beings. When it comes to the abducting alien beings, when it comes to shadow people, when it comes to the Hat Man, they all recognize the name of Jesus. What does that tell me? That tells me, like I said, all negative things are related. If Jesus and God are of no importance in the midst of all this paranormal smack going on, that wouldn't work. But it's happened again and again, and I don't know if I was one of the first to be out there talking on the topic in regard to the Secret War book, my first book, talking about positive and negative alien beings and how some spoke of God and how the others ran when they heard Jesus' name, and how they were in conflict. And it's like, wow, is this the battle that's been spoken of and written of in biblical texts? This is what's going down. This is going on in the skies already. So I think that, if people take some of the definitions away, some of the titles away, alien, put demon, call it an ant. I don't care what you call it, I won't say Bigfoot because he's sometimes nice, isn't he? But call it whatever you want. As long as you, prepare yourself that things don't present themselves as you are suspecting they might, or you hope that they might, So, I just kind of live each day and take each day as it comes with some of the things that people perceive and, try to give them something to think about, not to bash them, not to put them down for what they've been raised to know to be correct, because religion is necessary to get to a faith level that's comfortable. I'm not a religious person, but I love Jesus and God, and I religiously, if that makes sense. When I hear religious, I think of going to church every Sunday. No, I don't do that, but boy, my faith is right there in that Bible.
Right. I had a call about 4 days ago from somebody who called my hotline and just wanted to talk about something that happened to him. And it was when he was younger, and he was asleep, and he was being abducted. And he saw that it was an alien of some type, and they had hoods on. And at one time, after I think the second time, he started to say the name Jesus. Please help me. Please help me. And they vanished. And they did not come back. And his life turned around after that. Because he wanted to tell me that, you know what, all I said was, Jesus, please help me, get rid of him. And he told me they got angry when he said that name. And
I love it.
And you know, he's never seen our show. All right, he went on the internet, Googled 24-hour help paranormal hotline, and got my number and called me. And then he told me the story, because, you know, we have actually talked about Alan's, you know, what happened to Alan and just other people's incidents in general. And it's like he was actually describing one of our past incident that we, you know, assisted on or helped on or talked to somebody who had the same thing happen to him. And then I told him, well, then you've been listening to our show? And he goes, what show? And then I had to explain to him what we did, the whole 9 yards. So this is not the first time we have heard of this. And it's, you know, people think that it doesn't work. But the way it's sounding to me, it does. It absolutely does work. So, like you said, if saying the name of Jesus gets rid of these aliens, well, then there's got to be a good and an evil involved here someplace.
You know what, though? I don't know if it would be just the name. I think you would have to have the belief behind it. Because, like I said earlier on past shows, if you don't have the belief in whatever, because I'm atheist, I believe in something, though, but you have to have that willpower, because that's all it is. It's willpower. So if you put your belief in something...
Well, but what happens, like, you know, because he was trying to fight him off any which way he could, and using whatever he had at his disposal, his mind, his will, and he couldn't get rid of them. Yeah. But he stopped fighting and said one word, boom, and they are gone.
Well, that's my thing, though. I mean, because we're people. Like, we have a set strength level. We have that. We know what we're capable of. But when you put your belief into something like that, something that you truly believe is stronger than you, that's another thing too.
But he again was never a religious person per se. He didn't go to church or whatever. But he still called him out. But that like, you know, like the back of his mind, like Heidi. You know, she wasn't a religious person. She wasn't going to church. This guy wasn't going to church. He wasn't reading the Bible. He wasn't watching church things on Sundays. He was your regular guy watching football on Sunday, going to whatever. And he says one word, and it all stopped.
See, I'm just saying, because that never worked for me when I was going through my stuff.
Right. Well, I don't know.
I think it has something to do with, like, authority. Like, you have to have the authority of it. Like a cop. Like, a cop has a badge everyone recognizes, so he has authority, right? But if I went out and say I was going to stop traffic, and I ran out there, these people just run me over because I don't have the authority that a cop does. But he could go out in the middle of the freeway and just hold his hand up, and they'll see the uniform and everything, and they'll stop. You know what I mean? So when you're like a little kid, mostly the authority would be your parents and stuff like that.
Oh, no, I was older.
You know.
I wasn't.
You know, I'll say this when it comes to what you're mentioning there. I've had people write me say, I've done sage. I've said in Jesus' name, get out. God, get out. I told everything. I did it, and I went through the whole ritual, and it didn't work. I've had people tell me that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I used to really just think, wow, what is going on here? And then I thought of this movie. I don't recall what it was. It was with vampires, and this guy held up a cross to a vampire, and the vampire laughed and took the cross out of his hand and said, you got to have faith for that to work.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, that's what people are lacking, and that's why I really took the angle that I did. You know, here I'm talking about all this negative stuff, and I'm like, how do you combat it? You do have to have something behind your words, but words have weight to them. Oh my, do they? The second half of the first Jesus encounter I had, I learned that lesson when something negative came at me, trying to get me to denounce what I just saw, to get the words out to denounce it. So words do have weight, but belief and like you're saying, the authority. You know, people. I imagine people like throwing paper cups at the demon. You know, like this is their Jesus name they're throwing, but when you got the kitchen sink of faith, well, you're going to leave a mark on them.
Yep. I mean, I believe there's a higher power. I believe there's good and evil, and I have prayed.
It's testable.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we go and do it.
Yeah.
And use it and get results.
Yes, and that's what is telling me that there is something going on with good and evil. Like Emerald just said, well, actually several times ago, but she says, you can't have bad without good.
You have to have balance.
You have to have balance. I'm just saying, why do certain people witness what they witness? Like Jesus, and if that's who you met, and like Alan says as well that he met Jesus because he died a couple times on surgery, and I would love to experience that. I'm hoping one day I do. Hopefully not when I die, but hopefully sooner than that. I have faith. I've always tried to be a good person, and I would like to have that feeling that you encountered, and the feeling like Alan encountered, not wanting to come back where he was at.
Well, you know what's amazing? Like Heidi has this group on Facebook. I think it's called Paranormal Pledge, right?
Yeah.
And everybody could go and join that, by the way, Paranormal Pledge. But only I never realized how many people have the negative encounters. Like and even in my own family, I started like sharing some of the stories with my family, like that I read in the Paranormal Pledge. I mean, it was blowing me away how many people see this Hat Man thing. And then I started finding out that my sister-in-law saw it, and my son was seeing it when he was like 5. And I mean, this thing is this guy gets around. You know what I mean? I mean, really gets around. And I couldn't believe it. And Heidi's created this group, and I mean, there's story after story after story. It's amazing.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and that's actually even part of another group, Hat Man and Shadow People, Shadow People and Hat Man Experiencers group on Facebook.
Right.
And then ParanormalPledge.com. You can also, I have a couple of them.
And Heidi Hollis.com.
It is mind blowing, and it's heartbreaking.
Yes.
I mean, almost every day I get emails from people all over the world who have experienced, in particular, the Hat Man, Shadow People as well, but. The Hat Man is just a rotten.
Well, let's talk about
down, good for nothing.
Let's talk about the Hat Man. I heard about the Hat Man. I've heard about the Hat Man. I've heard about Shadow People. Describe to everyone what the Hat Man is.
The Hat Man is an entity who, for some reason, chooses to wear a black suit. Sometimes people could see a white shirt. 3-piece suit sometimes, trench coat or cape. He's been seen with a fedora or gaucho-type hat or a top hat. And more recently, I've heard of cowboy-type hat. Sometimes he's clean-shaven. Sometimes he has a goatee. Other times he's extremely pasty-white. That seems to be pretty consistent, his pasty-white skin. If people see his eyes, they can be solid black, or glowing red seems to be his favorite. He will appear, a lot of people will call him the Shadow Hat Man. That was my mistake when I first presented the topic of Shadow People. I put his drawing and several other forms that Shadow People took. I hadn't experienced the Hat Man at that time when I put up this website some time ago. And probably 1999. Yes, 2000.
It was a while.
When I started putting up the pictures, but in particular when the book got published, I felt more free to put the pictures. So more closer to '01. And so I put the different forms of shadow people could come in, and I called him the Hat Man shadow. And people would describe him as being, shadowy, because he'd always hide in the shadows, show up at the foot of a person's bed. And I'll tell you how I first came across him. My college roommate at the time, our place was just fully loaded with everything that you can imagine. I don't know, we were cursed, shadow people, aliens, balls of light, angelic things, I don't know. We were in the portal, in the pits of hell. I am not certain. But
that's funny.
We were experiencing so much stuff, but whenever she experienced anything, good or bad, she would scream at the top of her lungs. And I used to come running full force, like, oh my God, somebody's killing her. No, it was just her reacting. So
that would make you jump out of your skin, right?
What's that?
That would make you jump out of your skin, like, every time?
Yes, like death screams.
Yeah.
And this one night, she was doing death scream after death scream after death scream. And I'm like, wow, I think somebody's really killing her this time. I better go check. I run full force to her room, throw the door open. She is literally crouched on her bed in the corner, just shaking uncontrollably, pointing her finger at where I was coming in her door. And I'm like, what? I turned the light on. She's like, a man, and I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, he disappeared as soon as he opened up the door. Oh my God, he was so solid, he was so real. And she drew this very distinctive picture of him. And it described him just as I said, with a three-piece suit. She saw a goatee, and I believe she drew him with black eyes. And I was just like, wow, those shadow people are really getting crafty. So I put that on the website, and almost immediately I saw a pattern changing with the encounters with this type of shadow person versus all the others. And I was like, well, this is getting deep, and people were not saying how he could whisk by and take another form and whatnot. He was solid. I got the very, very distinct impression that he was real, and he was about as negative as a person can imagine. And I hadn't experienced him, though, and I was happy to not have experienced him. However,
I'm with you there.
This is crazy.
Like, I don't want to see him, no.
Yeah. Oh, I did not want to. But it was really bizarre. Here I was, I just put up my new website. My younger sister was coming over to the house to surprise me, and I'm like, oh, I got to show you my newest website. And my sister's like, Heidi, I got to talk to you about something. I'm like, oh, but you got to see the new images I put up. And I pull up my website, pull up the picture of the Hat Man. She screams, oh my God, that's him. I'm like, what? What's going on? And she's like, Heidi, I went down to get my clothes out of the laundry out in the basement of my home, and she said this tall, shadowy man rose up from behind the dryer and just cowered over it. She said, I don't think I touched a stair on the way up. And I want to say it was the next day or a couple of days later, she was driving her car, looked in her rearview mirror, and he was sitting in the back seat of her car, glowing red eyes. And I'm like, whoa, who is this man? What's going on here? And I kept, the tone of the emails and the letters and the experiences kept coming, and I kept bumping into strangers or coworkers, when they would find, oh, Heidi's into the paranormal, I got a story for you. And it was always the Hat Man. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this experience was just multiplying. And I knew I had to address it, though I took quite a long period of time. I was really reluctant to look into the topic, because whenever I did, those closest to me would experience him, or they would have the worst luck or nightmares. It was really, he was just like this monkey on my back that just, I never seen for myself, but would even literally be behind me where people would see him. I didn't see him.
Wow.
What is the purpose of the Hat Man appearing to people? I mean, okay, example, your sister. You know your sister very well. I hope you know your sister very well.
Yeah.
Your sister, was she a very religious person, non-religious person? Was she into good things, into bad things. You know where I'm going with this?
Yes.
Why do you think it appeared to her?
You know, there's two different reasons I feel that he shows up to people. And some, yes, I think some people do invite him by their actions. I think that, they're drinking, they're doing drugs, things of that nature, even dabbling in the occult without protecting themselves. So I do see some reasons, suicidal people who have attempted suicide. He's there waiting at their bedside. Just horrible things like that. But then there are those who, maybe there's three different things. There are those who are fence sitters, who just aren't quite dedicated to God and not quite dedicated to anything. So I think sometimes he waves hello to them. And then I also think that there are some who are beacons of light that he just wants to stomp out so that person doesn't help anybody else in this world at all. So I think he likes to try to bring the despair to people, and I think he likes to feed on their fear, very much like the shadow people do, and negative aliens. People have reported the same thing. So it's like darkness is darkness, and they all work for the same dark source. So it's kind of like this repetitive thing going on when it comes to reports of him. But he is just such a sinister thing that really, really, you could tell he enjoys what he does without raising a finger half the time, just showing up. And people fear for their souls with just a glance. What a power.
Sometimes,
what a powerhouse.
Some of the stories, like in the Paranormal Pledge, and I think in your book you talked about one of them, where the people aren't afraid. They don't have like a bad experience for a while, and they're not afraid of them, but then usually something happens later, down the line, and all of a sudden, it jumps on them and starts choking them out or something. It's usually when they start getting wise to how evil they are, usually, I think.
Yeah.
But has anybody who has had the experience with the Hat Man ever bring up the name, or the word, Jesus?
Oh, yeah, my hand's raised right now.
Mine
yes.
too.
Okay.
Because I hadn't experienced him until I started writing the book. I didn't see him. I still haven't seen him. I'll put it that way.
Right.
I wouldn't give him the pleasure because he was looking for a rise out of me, and I just wasn't in the mood. Didn't want to give it to him. So let's put it that way.
But he was there, right? He was there, but you just didn't look.
Well, with anybody, with any one of the stories that has come to you, has anybody ever told you, Heidi, I've always been visited by this shadow or this Hat Man, and then one day I said, leave me alone, and used the word Jesus, and was that the end of that? I mean, did that ever?
Oh, yeah. Just the one time, yeah. Many have written to me saying that I'm so happy he hasn't returned. I said, in Jesus' name, get out of here, and he turned around and left. And I can't remember what I put this in my book, The Hat Man. There was a young guy who took a break from playing video games, and the Hat Man was on his patio, and he said something like Jesus Christ played the fiddle or something. I don't know, something crazy, and the Hat Man took off.
But he had that word in there, right? Yeah.
When you
like the word.
When you say the Hat Man, it brings a picture in my head, and I don't know if it was the second or third Poltergeist, the old man with the hat. It's just something creepy. Something creepy like that. So all of a sudden you see you walking
Reverend.
down. Them walking up the sidewalk and start walking to your door, and
I wanted to know, like, okay, now we talked about the Hat Man, but then there's the shadow people too, and what's the difference between the two? You know what I mean? Like the Hat Man's like the ultimate guy that Now, but then there's the shadow guys. Now they're different.
When you say shadow, because people tell me stories like they'll be at home on the sofa watching TV, and all of a sudden on the corner of their eye they'll see this shadow walking from their hallway down to the bathroom and disappears.
Or a spider or something like that crawling on the wall.
Are we talking an actual shadow person, not physically, what did I see? What I just thought I saw, or what is that standing right in front of me is just a shadow? You follow me? What is the difference? What are you talking about?
When it comes to the shadow people and the Hat Man, the differences are the Hat Man, he likes to be in his form. He really does. Yeah, there's been some times where almost like little shadowy cylindrical things will come from him, like tentacles. Like hello, Slender Man. I think somebody just totally ripped off the Hat Man and called it Slender Man. The fictional character that the little girls stabbed their little friend over.
Right.
That whole shenanigan. But the Hat Man's pretty solid. He wears clothes. He has a hat. He has features. He can come up being quite solid, sit on your bed, choke you. He'll speak as well. Shadow people are not generally known for speaking. Yes, they have. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they growl. Shadow people can look like a shadow cat, shadow blob, shadow cloud, shadow rodents, and what I call the head and shoulder shadow. Yes, I called it that because it looks like a kind of a hulky man with his head directly connected to his shoulders with no neck. And sometimes you'll see red eyes coming out from them too. Shadow spiders, those are the ones that I experience the most. Ugh, horrible. I mean, you think you could get a shoe to kill them? No, you're out of luck. I have tried. And they're more of a, shape-shifting type of thing. Then one of their favorite pastime activities is to choke people as well. More to get a rise out of them. What people see going from their peripheral vision, our peripheral vision is a little bit more sensitive to the differences between shadows and light. So I think that's why we're more often and more likely to see them that way. But then, people could look at them head on and they'll still be there too. So it's their gig and their game is pretty much along the same agenda as the Hat Man, to scare the life out of people, to even some people have seen them, how could you say, in their dreams, crossing over to the other side. Same with aliens, by the way. I actually saw, because I mostly saw shadow spiders. I actually wake up when something is in my area that just should not be there. And I woke up to have this shadow spider dropping down, with its legs spread out, like dropping towards my face. I woke up, it retracted and pulled into a ball and turned into a gray's face, a gray alien's face. I'm like, I saw you. And they're known for shape-shifting too, the gray alien beings, which is something I've seen right before my eyes, a gray being do such a thing while I was choking another. But anyways.
Okay.
Boy, the power of God is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Just before we continue on, just to let everybody know, I have 2 books on their way to me from Heidi, and they're not here yet because apparently they're selling pretty good. So as soon as you'll get your next shipment, or whoever has them are going to send me a couple, and we're going to give 2 away tonight after we talk to you. So for all those who are watching and listening, stay tuned. I'm going to give you the guys the phone number right now. The phone number, everybody run and get your pen and paper and get ready to type this in there wherever you're at. So area code 559-287-8367. 559-287-8367. And this we'll give them away after we talk with Heidi, and Heidi is going to autograph each and every one, so that way you can have that and say, hey, nah, I got one, you don't. So all right, let's continue on with this Shadow Man.
The Slender Man. What do you think?
Man.
He's the Hat Man, huh? The Slender Man, same guy.
Yeah, well, I think so. I think that somebody experienced the Hat Man. Didn't know, just gave it this character name and, made it an online thing. And lo and behold, children are the ones who experience him the most. I mean, that's when he first makes his mark, it seems, when they're youngest. If he's a repetitive offender and creeping around them, it seems to start when they're, 3, 4, 5 years old, and just keeps going on. And he's extremely tall. He's over 7 feet tall generally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just recently in the news, like I'm talking 3-4 months ago. No, don't call in, you guys. Not yet. Don't call in. We're already getting callers for your book.
No calls.
We're already getting callers for your book. Not now, you guys. Hold off.
We'll take your number down, and you can't win.
Yeah, there you go. Just recently in the news, I heard where young kids, like high school and junior high, stabbed and killed some friends because the Slender Man told them to.
They were 3 12-year-old girls. Now, this is going to creep you out, you guys. 3 12-year-old girls. They were all best friends. And 2 attacked the one in the name of Slender Man to please him. And guess where they're from? My hometown, Milwaukee.
Oh, great.
Right when I was publishing the Hat Man book.
See what you did?
It's like crazy things. Whenever I would look into the topic, whenever I would start writing on the topic, the oddest things would happen. And when that happened, I just got chills like, really? This is happening now. Wow. Just blew me away.
Wow. And there was another one before that, wasn't there? Or there was one after that?
I believe after.
Yeah, after, like in the forest or somebody, I don't know, 2 kids, or they went into the forest and they killed somebody and because of the Slender Man. But I'm thinking that the Hat Man is definitely out there to cause problems, that's basically his job, is to cause evil in the young ones, because that's where, and you know what, I think my son witnessed something when he was younger, and I don't know if it was the Slender Man or what. And he's actually right here. Have you ever seen the Slender Man or Hat Man, Christian?
No, but I've seen videos on YouTube.
Okay, and videos on YouTube. So no, and they're all over YouTube. People are dressing up like Slender Man and stuff like that, and think it's funny, but it isn't, because they have no idea what they're getting into. All right. Well, now aliens. Now. Evil. Okay, we're talking all this stuff is evil. The shadow people, the Hat Man. Where do aliens come into play in this?
It was such a strange and twisted tale in life for me when I was in college. I'll take it a few steps backwards with my first book, The Secret War. I was in college, and I had seen some tremendous UFOs, and I had not ever been abducted by aliens or anything along those lines. I joined a group in Milwaukee that had those who had experienced aliens, for the most part, alien abductions and whatnot, and I got to be part of the group just because I'd seen some UFOs. I'm like, cool, I got to listen to all these cool stories, So it didn't take long, I want to say a few weeks, that I'd it had to be a couple of months that I was going there, and I had a black unmarked helicopter come over my house, looking like it was going to land on it, leaning over, taking pictures of me while I was mowing the lawn. I'm like, what is this? I've heard about this, wow, there they go. I moved, and I had an encounter where, it's a little bit of a story, but I'll try to make it short. I lived alone. I woke up because I thought someone had broken into my apartment. I couldn't believe, the sounds that I was hearing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm about to die. Somebody's in my apartment. My phone's not near me. I jump up out of bed. My door was wide open, and I was going to bolt for the door, just to run out. And lo and behold, there were 2 pint-sized creatures standing in my living room going through my bookshelf.
What?
Wow, that's a trip.
I'm like, I was about to run, but then here's this comical thing going on here. I'm like, what? No way. What are those? Little bald-headed guys. I walk up between the 2 of them as they're going through my bookshelf, and they turn and they look up at me, and I'm like, looked at both of them like, what are you doing here? I'm like, what are you doing with my stuff? Put it down. And I grabbed my stuff out of their hands, and I put it on my bookshelf. and they were the typical grays. They, you know how they say with the big eyes and the 2 slits for a nose and a slit for a mouth, and you know they always say, oh, but they don't have any expression. These ones, their mouths were open in an O, like, oh crap, she's up. So I grabbed my stuff out of their hands. They're standing there, and I heard more noise in my apartment, and I go to check. There's 2 more in my walk-in closet, 2 more in my my kitchen, and I was standing in my kitchen, and my bathroom door was closed, and the light was on, and there was noise going on in there. I'm like, oh, that's not happening.
They're playing in your makeup? No.
Well, they're not paying the bills. They're not allowed in there. So I was like, I flung the bathroom door open. I didn't realize one of them was behind the door, so when I flung the door open, it hit the floor, and
that's funny.
What's that?
I said that is hilarious funny.
Oh, it gets better. So that poor little guy's knocked to the floor, and this other one, you know, all these grays, they didn't have any clothing on, but there was another one in that bathroom that was reaching for something on the back of my toilet, and it had this jumper suit on or something, and I grabbed that little guy. I'm not a violent person. I really am not. I mean, but I was just like, I'm asking them all as I'm going around, who are you and what are you doing here? No one's speaking. They're just going through everything, my cabinets, everything. It was just like a violation. It was crazy. And then this little guy is standing there, and I grabbed him by his little suspenders and picked him off the ground, and I shook him with every word, and I said, who are you and what are you doing here? And the one that I'd knocked to the ground had his arm up as if to block me, like, I don't know if he thought I was going to step on him or something. It was strange. And I heard him say, I'm your nephew, I'm your nephew. And I took my attention away from the one I had in my hands, and I looked down at him, and I watched this thing shapeshift before my eyes into my nephew in a baby blue suit and an afro. And I'm like, you're not my nephew. You look like him when he was 10. You know, he's 20-something now. And I turned my attention back to the one in my hands, and this thing was shaking so hard, like it was short-circuiting. And I put it back down, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. You know, I didn't mean to, you know, scare you. And this little thing did not look like the others. This one was fleshy colored, freckles, curly red tufts of hair on top of its big bulbous head, big, large, almond-shaped eyes, but they're human. So I felt like I just scared a little kid. And I offered it. You'll love this, Alan. I offered it a cookie to calm it down.
Did he take it?
Okay, all right. Now, if somebody else would have walked in their apartment and saw these aliens just in their house, I think they would have probably either fainted, screamed, and ran out the door. Why didn't you do either or? I mean, why all of a sudden say,
because it's
Wow,
Heidi.
cool.
Heidi already, that was probably not her first merry-go-round or whatever you call it.
I mean, you know,
right.
why didn't it or they scare the you-know-what out of you?
You know, I don't have quite the answer for that, but I was raised in a haunted house. So, I mean, I have been terrorized and terrified from the age of 7 up. So, I mean, I'd had the worst things that you can imagine come my way, and it was, I don't know if I was numb to it. I don't think anybody could get numb to horror, but I think I was better prepared than the next person to a point where I mean, it was just comical to me, you know. I was part of that UFO group, and I'm like,
right.
Those guys that everybody was talking about. I'm like, oh my God, here they are.
Okay, and you know what? I could see that now, because, you know, you're familiar with the subject matter, like I would be, and like Alan and Emerald, and anybody who associates themselves with me, if they happen to see these aliens, like I would say, all right, now this is cool. And probably start asking questions. Or I probably would get one and kick it and beat the crap out of it and save it so I can get $1 million. I don't know, but
I did choke it, so I'm.
Okay,
you know, I'm envisioning slamming it with the bathroom door.
I'm envisioning the movie Paul. Okay, That's what I'm envisioning right now. Paul, a bunch of little Pauls running around,
Yes.
and they're like trying to do the wiggle on their finger, and you're like slapping them. I see a movie here. All right. I mean, that's what I see. But okay, what were they doing there? Obviously, they were looking for something.
Yes. Well, the one that had shapeshifted to look like my nephew. One of the first item I took out of their hands in the living room was a little photo album
Picture.
with an old picture of my nephew dressed exactly like that.
A chameleon.
Man, what a sneaky little
It was collecting
sucker.
information, obviously.
That's sneaky.
But why you? Well, obviously, the black helicopter was there. That the black helicopter happened before the aliens arrived.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the people up there, the government, they knew they were keeping an eye on you, and there was a reason.
Before I knew.
Okay.
Isn't that something? I did realize that afterwards. Like, they knew before I did.
All right.
Yeah, but
connection.
sometimes the black helicopters aren't helicopters. They're actually UFOs.
Oh.
And they do just like the little alien did, right? He turned into her nephew.
Right.
Only the UFO will turn into a helicopter. A black helicopter. I mean, that's what I get talk to people all the time that report that. It throws everybody off.
It does.
But they're sneaky little suckers. I mean, I can't believe, I actually think that they knew maybe in advance that what you're up to. You know what I mean? Like, before you knew you're going to write a book and do all this stuff and reach out to people.
Well, okay, when did that happen in connection with the writing of, let's say, the Hat Man book?
Oh, the Hat Man book just came
out.
That happened in about 1997.
Long time ago then.
96, maybe.
So that's when your websites were coming out, but you still had some good stuff on your websites back then. I mean, I actually was, doing research on this very subject because somebody saw something in I don't think it was Google then, but only I came across Heidi's website way back then, and I've been following Heidi ever since then, really. I mean, she has good stuff, guys.
When did your incident occurred with Jesus? What year was that?
99, the first encounter.
Okay, and this happened with the aliens in 97?
It might have been even sooner. Let me think.
I'm just trying to find out why.
I'd have to trace myself back.
So you were doing the whole UFO thing in the 90s, early 90s, or?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've been looking to this topic for odd topics for a very long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously they knew you were into the subject matter. They were in your house. I'm just trying to figure out why. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why.
Yeah.
I think it's because they knew. I mean, okay. We don't see everything. Like, there's a realm or a dimension that some of these things they live in. Okay, and they can be around you, and maybe these. We're working with Heidi in her dreams or something, and they're going around her, which draws the attention of these other things. And then they're like, okay, why are the good guys, hanging out right here? We're gonna go try to figure out what's going on here. They can't read your mind, but they can see in the other dimension that we can't see, this other realm, right?
Yeah, there was something that had occurred on an official level that let me know something was truly amiss in my life involving the government. I want to say maybe 1992. I got an interesting visit. I had just moved into my first apartment, and I was being I got a visit from the Census Bureau. And I'm like, I was picked for a special census. This elderly lady came to my door, I lived in an apartment with like 6 other roommates. I didn't know them. Was on college campus, and there were the ladies like, oh, you've been chosen for this very special census, and I have a few questions to ask you. Do you mind if I come in? I am young. I don't care. Come on in. Sure, have a seat. She whips out this big book, and she was interrogating me for probably 2 hours or so.
Wow.
And she asked me odd things like, she said it was to see if I utilized certain government programs. Do you use food stamps? I said no. And then it was, do you use this service? No. And then she'd ask, what do you think about the war that's going on in this area of the world? I'm like, huh? I don't know. Then she'd ask another official question. And then she'd ask about my spiritual beliefs and insight on such and such and such and such. I looked at her and I'm like, really? Okay. It's just answering these questions and just going on. And I'm like, wow, okay. I just feel like my whole life and perspectives on everything I've ever thought of, it was just, asked. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go now. I'm like, well, thanks for coming, I guess, and then she asked, I want to speak to all of your roommates. I'm like, okay, sure. And they all came out one at a time. I had something to go do. I didn't even stick around. So this lady showed up every month. And I'm like, whoa, I thought I answered all your questions. She said, well, I'm to follow you for a year.
Wow.
I said, well, I don't know about that. And I said, I really got to go do something right now. She'd come unannounced. The roommates that I had, they threw a party. We all got evicted. And I had just moved my stuff into the new place, was carrying stuff through the door, just plugged my phone into the wall, and it rang, and it was that woman. I'm like, I don't even have my name attached to this number yet. It was attached under my other roommate. That it was a brand new roommate. It was crazy. So when I joined that UFO paranormal discussion group, I just had a feeling that there was some kind of connection with this super rare census that this woman said she was a part of. It was like one person in 100,000 people or something that were chosen for this. I'm in Milwaukee where there's like 600,000 people. I go to the group and somebody asked the question, does anybody feel like they've been harassed by the government? And I said, a few years back I had the strangest census woman come my way. Do you know that 4 other people raised their hand in the group, said they had the same experience?
Wow.
They were all chosen by this rare census. I'm like, wow. So I was on the radar for a long time before I knew anything in regards to any of this.
That almost sounds like the aliens coming like that, doing that, like following you around, like because they act like they're government officials, but really they're not.
And back then in the 90s, internet was just starting off, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was new.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So nowadays, you can't have that happen or else you're going to get a snapshot on your cell phone and you're going to be plastered on Facebook. So now they have to figure out other ways of how to follow people like you and me and Alan and Emerald and all those kind of people because it's not that easy anymore. Like back then, you could not talk about what you just had encountered with people. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
I think this has been happening for a long time. And now they have other ways of listening to us and following us, cell phones, GPS, all that,
right.
So it's easier for them to do that. Back then, they had to send somebody to your door to eavesdrop. Okay, so obviously they had you tapped out big time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really didn't get involved heavy. It was also just a personal interest of mine,
right.
But I didn't get involved until I signed up with MUFON and became, a section state director with them. And but that's when, I was already really in deep, and cell phones were out, and I was very observant. Until I said goodbye, MUFON. You guys, there's something definitely going on with you guys. I don't want to be associated with you. Yeah, okay. Well, now it's beginning to make sense to me. That back then That's the only way they could keep tabs on you, was to send somebody over nonchalantly, like the Mormons do, and to the front door.
But I still think it's probably not even our government. Because, I mean, just like that little alien turned into her nephew,
right?
They can turn into a government worker.
Well,
and you never know.
Just show up, and start asking you a bunch of questions. Just like the Bible even has somewhere in there, it says you could be entertaining angels unaware. That you'll not know they're angels, but only they'll be around you, and you'll be talking with them and everything, and you have no idea. Yeah. But only
it's mind-blowing with all this. I surely just didn't feel all that special to have that kind of attention, from government people, aliens. Soon after those guys, all those little grays had come into my apartment, the next day or so, I started seeing these shadow people. I'm like, what is going on here? It's like, why the attention? Why the focus? What are these things up to? I couldn't make sense of it. I was just trying to get through college through a very difficult program, and I'm actually a occupational therapist, and it's like, it was just like, just let me get through school already. What is going on here?
What does an occupational therapist do?
An occupational therapist, we actually address people physically, mentally, emotionally. And for anybody that has any kind of disability, we even help them, we counsel people to become more independent in any single way that you can imagine. So we might be the ones that will, so you just got paralyzed. You need to learn how to get around your house with the new wheelchair I'll show you how to use. And if you hurt a limb, we'll also show you how you can go about rehabilitating yourself physically. Much like a physical therapist, we work with the upper body, but we also branch out. We do a lot of psychology as well. So, so it's pretty varied. It's all about helping people in any way that you can imagine to get independent again back in their lives. So that's why it kind of goes hand in hand with one of my favorite pastime things to do is to give paranormal advice. So. I always say that I'm someone who's been there, seen that, experienced it, freaked out, found some answers, wrote about it, got over it, and now I'm hoping to help others do the same thing and understand this crazy world of ours, because it's something else, and we can do it. It's like, I know how this stuff comes off to people. I do, but it's like all I can do is be honest, because I'm not going to be quiet about it, because it needs to be said. And I've been fortunate enough to meet many people who have benefited from, somebody like myself that's just like, look, here I am. I did see an alien. Sorry. I shouldn't say sorry. I'm not going to apologize for it. Yes, I also experienced Jesus. So I'm surely not going to apologize for that. And I think it's just, the paranormal is normal. It happens to a lot of us. We're professionals. We keep our jobs, and we're able to trust our eyes. So many people think their eyes are playing tricks on them, but they could drive a truck cross country. I'm like, come on. We have to realize that this is just a part of our world, and we can pull together and get answers and help each other with this stuff. I mean, there's too much ego out there. A lot of people are so pulling at the bit to try to beat the next person or reveal the best next thing in the paranormal world. And I'm like, and that's why we're not getting as far as we need to. So that's why I really like what you guys are doing and how you approach things and
hey, Heidi,
put word out there. That's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Heidi, did you know that now there's a Hat Man game?
Oh, yes. Yeah,
That
I've
tripped me
actually
out.
spoke to the creator.
Somebody sent me a link to it, one of my good friends.
It's an app or what? An app for a phone, or is it like Xbox? Or
No, it's like an online game.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it was like
a walkthrough type of gaming experience.
Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, man, I wonder if they're going to give Heidi some royalties, because they should.
We've spoken, potentially, have some kind of a deal going on with that, but we'll see. It's one of those murky areas of I just don't know. It's like I named the phenomenon, and I've had so many people go and rip things off. What can you do sometimes?
Right.
Yeah, that happens to us too. Really,
you have to trademark,
come up with a
trademark
really
the name.
cute little thing, and then everybody the next day you hear everybody using it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the way it goes. when you're famous, Heidi, it's the way it goes.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. That's the way it goes. It happens when you're out there.
I know one thing. Like when she started the Facebook group, I mean, it was little at first, like just maybe a few hundred people, and it's grown into this huge group, and I think she's really helping people. I mean, the people could actually go in there and share their experience and ask questions, and they get answers. And now there's other people in there now that will help too. You know what I mean? They stay in there, and they can help. They actually give advice and everything, and it's not wrong. They lead you the right way and stuff. I mean, I think that some of this pre-stuff that was happening to you is because that the good side was kind of helping you along in ways that you couldn't see, and the bad side's like, oh man, those guys again hanging around, what's coming, so they want to know. And then now look, you got these books out, and the books are really good. I mean, she writes in a way that it's not scary, and this is a scary thing. When you read the stories on Facebook, they'll give you nightmares, some of them. It's like, oh my God, I would have died in fright on some of them. I mean, you open your eyes and, I'd be dead. Just like that. Right. I mean, I wouldn't even live through it. And I don't know how those people do. Some of them are really, haunted.
And that's the whole idea. And I think, with you out there and us out there, people are starting to open up with the subject matter. And that's the whole idea, because we're not here to make fun of them. Because this stuff is for real. Like you said, the paranormal is now the new normal.
It is,
and that's just the way we feel. And I'm hoping that people are going to call you like crazy, and give you more info and tell you more stories, because it's all about putting, connecting all the dots. Because I'm still trying to figure out why they are so want a piece of you. I mean, obviously it sounds like everybody wants a piece of you, the aliens and the government. So obviously there's something going on. Either you touched on something in the past that really ticked them off, or there's something about you in general, and maybe your experience with Jesus, that's what they want to know more about, I think.
Well, that'll get the bad side attention, or the negative side. They see all that light going that way, I'm sure they're going to go find out what's going on.
Yeah, so I think everybody wants a piece of you, and want to figure out why is this all happening to you. And me too. I want to know why, because you got a lot of stuff cool that's going on with you, and I don't know, a lot of people think that aliens are approaching you cool, but we live for this stuff, right? I mean, we live for this stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's so funny, because I couldn't really understand why the stuff was going on my way. I wasn't the type of person to cower in a corner. I mean, I've had my times where I was afraid of the dark, because I knew what the dark held, and I didn't care to look at it. That was after I'd had a lot of experiences with shadow people, and was being terrorized by them. But everything that I do and that I'm able to do right now, and to keep my sanity and to keep my strength and to keep these negative things away from me, is all derived from having had the Jesus encounters that I did. I know that I cheated in getting the faith that I do, because he showed up. It's like I'm like, whoa, I skipped several levels in the faith building, and I understand that. But it's like, once it was put in place, though, it is solid, and I stand with no fear when it comes to all of this negative stuff. And I think had I not had those experiences, that I probably would be the type of person that'd be like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can handle this, because but I have no doubts in the power of Jesus, because of his presence and him showing up. And I'm actually going to be writing another book because he showed up again. And I don't know how, I've shared a little bit with Alan in regard to, within 6 months, I was told I had a brain tumor, a brain aneurysm, and a broken vertebrae, the very top two in my head. So, and he showed up and he saved me, essentially. So, in all things, I got away with not one surgery. I'm still standing and still talking to you, and yes, my neck is still broken.
Right.
So I mean,
that's the power of him, you know.
So your neck is broken because of a disease, or you had an accident?
Nope. Guess what? You know that story where people are saying, "Well, you're born with a screw loose." Yeah, I have a very rare thing where my neck has never been connected to my spine. It's broken. It is just not connected. The vertebrae are broken.
And you've you've always had that?
I have always had it and didn't know.
Okay, I'm thinking there's something that internally that's going on with you that the people around you, the government and aliens, are interested in. Because like you said, there is some crazy stuff happening internally. You're just one of those special people. And
it's something else.
Yeah, that is weird and cool at the same time.
I've got a good one for you too, Jeff. Check
this
out. So the brain tumor, I went all over the country. It's so rare, they're telling me. We're going to have to disable you. You'll never speak again, eat again, or move your tongue. So sorry. You'll need a feeding and a breathing tube. I'm like, what?
Whoa.
So I go to one of the top head and neck surgeons in the world. He looks at my MRI, his jaw drops, and he goes, "Oh, I've never seen anything like it, but I don't think it's a brain tumor. I think it's something rarer." And I said, "Well, what the heck is it?" And he essentially described what, when you're an embryo, you have these fish gills-like things that you breathe, the embryonic fluid, but it forms a certain part of your neck. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I still have a fish gill.
See, I knew you were special.
Yeah, that's special.
So me and Kevin Costner, when Waterworld happens, we're going to go swimming around and all the rest of you are going to drown. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's cool.
You know what? You're a hybrid.
I hope not.
I tell you, Heidi, you're a hybrid, and that's why everybody wants a piece of you, man. I'm serious. I'm serious. There is something going on internally that everybody wants to know about.
Dear God, no.
That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, you're like describing to me that you have some stuff going on that changing. You're changing, the DNA is changing, because everybody thinks that now we're in the time where our DNA is changing. Our kids are now growing up different, and when I mean different, way smarter.
Yeah.
The intelligence is just through the roof, and I think that maybe you're one of those people, and they want. Wow, that's cool. Well, you know what? Yeah, I think we're definitely have to keep in touch.
Well, it is a strange thing because I found out these things in 2011, and it's just been this crazy roller coaster ride of, the brain aneurysm wasn't a brain aneurysm. It was, I have essentially a double of something that I essentially have a backup system in the middle of my brain, so if I get a clot somewhere, it'll just reroute itself. So
there it is.
That's so cool.
That's it.
World.
That's it.
That's cool.
In the middle of your brain, that's just like right there where the third eye is located, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. Well, I suppose so. It's
right in there someplace.
It's been something
That's
else.
Interesting.
So, potentially, I never really thought much about that aspect of it. Only that I felt like there was a target painted on my back, and I've been asking people to wipe it off.
Well, I think I'm serious. I'm here for you. You want to come and sit on my couch? You can, and tell me your story.
I'll be there.
No, I'm serious. You have something special going on with you. I can hear it already. I can see it already, and they want to know what it is. And wow, so yeah, that's actually, I don't know if you call it cool or not, but
I'm having the time of my life, to be honest, and I wouldn't change anything that I do for anything in the world. I would not want to be in the dark on any of these topics I cover, and anything that I've experienced, because it's helped a lot of people, and it's such a good feeling to know that, and to know that I'm able to present these topics in a different way. I do write very comical. In the new book series, the cartoon series, ficklefinders.com, and the other fword.com, to present the topic of faith and, just to look at God just a little bit different. Take it out of the, traditional text and just get with it already, because it's so dire that we get on the boat, because the darkness is placing its bets on us that we don't figure them out.
That's
and
right.
So far, the Hat Man is rearing his ugly, wretched face around too many corners and looking at too many people and getting too darn close. And, Jesus encounters are going up, too. So what's going on? Are they showing up to those who are on their side of the fence? And if you've seen him, if you've seen the Hat Man, you better really get on, your other F word, get on your face and figure it out, because time is of the essence. I think that if Jesus came back today, a lot of people would be left behind, and I think that's our groundwork that we need to do, is to start waking people up to the fact that there's too many people to be lost. We just can't lose that many people. We got to do this. And again, I'm not somebody who's a Bible thumper. I'm not really religious, and I cover so many topics. I'm able to blend these topics to an extent, where I hope I'm not coming off as somebody pushing faith, but faith in general. Get with the good, because I don't care where these people, what their background is, Jewish, Muslim, they're seeing the Hat Man. Native Americans, they're seeing him. So it doesn't seem to matter what your faith is. He believes in you.
Well, I don't know how many people, like I've been reading lately, and maybe it's just because of the friends I have on Facebook, but smudge. Everybody, man, I'm smudging, and
oh boy,
forget the smudging. It don't work.
Yes.
I'm serious. I mean, I don't know how many people that I read the stories and they smudge and it doesn't do anything. But then you have the other ones swearing by it, right? Like, oh, you got to smudge. It's like, you know what? All the stories I read, that it don't work.
No.
It absolutely doesn't work. It's just like it smells good, okay? That's all.
For the people that it's working, do they use the word Jesus?
No.
No?
But only then you'll say that, and then they go try that, and then that works. Some of them.
Right.
Okay, some of them will stick to the smudge no matter what you tell them.
Oh, my favorite is when they just only have a priest come through their house and bless it, and they hide behind his face and like, yeah, you go take care of this.
Right.
It's like, you've got to stand on your own 2 feet, buddy,
That's
or this isn't going to last for long. You got to stand right by the side of that priest, or do it yourself, because man, I mean, the stories that I get, I have thousands of stories on the Hat Man alone, and then the shadow people. In the beginning, I covered, some ghost stuff, but I was really into the alien topic. And, the emails changed immediately when I mentioned shadow people to just being shadow people. I put up the image of the Hat Man, and now 90% of my email is Hat Man. And I'm like, gosh, I just want to talk about angels and Jesus. Please, somebody, It's like, but people are so overwhelmed by the reality. I get a lot still every week. I'll meet people, even in person, like, I thought that was a dream I had of this guy. Why is it on the cover of your book? I'm like, oh, great. Tell me your story. And it's still happening. People don't realize he's out there.
Wow.
So it's a horrific thing that's going on in our world. But, hey, you know what? I'm going to try to stomp them down with a big smile on my face, having a good old time, and keeping Jesus close by.
Yeah.
What is your website? It's HeidiHollis.com?
HeidiHollis.com,
and
the other fword.com, ficklefinders.com, and paranormalpledge.com, where I encourage people to raise their right hand and take the paranormal pledge that they will tell at least one other person about their personal paranormal experience or interest. So this stuff doesn't seem so out of the ordinary, because it's time to make a change, people.
Absolutely. Now, Heidi Hollis, your name is spelled HEIDIHOLLIS.com. For all those people who are listening and watching this right now, that's her main website. You could probably get to all of their other websites through that website, I'm thinking. Is that right?
Indeed, yes.
Awesome. Okay. Heidi, the time is up, man.
I know. We can keep you going for another hour.
Yeah. We only got 10 minutes left, and I had to say a couple more things, but we have to give your books away, and that's going to take all that time to do so. So, Heidi, I appreciate you coming on. That text that we had this morning was awesome, and like I said, I think we're going to be continuing our relationship, and that way we can assist other people, and if we have stories come our way, we're going to pretty much send them to you. Because that stuff is in your hands. You have more, connection with that type of stuff than us. Obviously, we hear the stuff, but my whole thing here is to associate myself with people that are better at that. You know what I'm saying? The Hat Man Shadow people, because that way we can help more people that way. And like you said, it's not about me this, me that. I'm not. We can help you. Come over here, no matter what it is. No, that's not the case.
And the Jesus encounters and angel encounters, all these topics are, and alien abductions and positive alien contact. I mean, I delve into all of it, and it's something I really enjoy. And I really want to thank you guys for having me on. I think I should have been on here like a long time ago, because this is just too much fun. So we have to do it again.
Absolutely. No. Trust me, we will do it. And I think what's going to happen is once we get the TV show going and stuff, we're going to have to fly you out here and be in person on the couch.
Yeah, we will.
I will be there anytime you guys need me. I want to support you guys all the way and see this thing go.
Yes. Awesome. All right, Heidi, thank you much, and I appreciate it. And we will talk to you soon. Okay.
Great. You guys take care now.
Bye, Heidi.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, you guys, the 10th caller right now for her book, The Hat Man, at 559-287-8367. 559-287-8367. The last four numbers represent the letters UFOS. Be the 10th caller right now. Anywhere around the world, we'll get it to you as soon as I get the books from her, because they're on back order, because she is selling a lot of them. And she's doing really well with this particular book, because it is a very popular subject. Apparently, a lot of people are having the same experiences all around the world, and it is this one hat person.
559-32...
Nope. 559-287... 8367. 10th caller, let's go. Caller. So right now, as soon as Emerald gets that caller, I will tell you to stop, and then we'll wait a couple of minutes and do it for the other book. So let me just do a couple of things here. Okay.
Yeah, me and Heidi's been talking for a long time, and amazing lady. She does a radio show. She works as an occupational therapist. She's a book author, and then she actually personally mans the groups on Facebook, and it is really cool.
She loves this stuff, as you can tell. And she definitely has something going on with her that is bringing in all this attention. And I'm not just saying from people with stories. I'm talking about the government. There's something that she has going on that they're interested in. And I think that's why she's having all this commotion about her.
Well, the Hat Man book is excellent, man. I mean, she just shares stories of other people that have experiences with the Hat Man and what the results and everything were. And I mean, it is really good. I mean, if you like good, scary stuff,
we got the caller.
This book is good.
We got the winner. So everybody, please stop calling. Everybody, please stop calling. We got a winner. So hold on here.
We have a winner.
Okay. So all right. We got like 9 minutes left. I want to open up a little bit. Again, I guess this 3 hours that we have starting next month, we're gonna have to, because we are running out of time. We have very cool guests. We could have gone on longer with her, but obviously we didn't have enough time to, because we didn't even do the squash report.
Right? Yeah.
You imagine that?
Oh, we could have done 3 hours with her easy.
Yeah, easy.
And most of our guests, really, we could.
Who's the winner on this one?
Al.
Al, yay!
Okay.
Right on Al.
So, all right.
Long time listener.
So, okay, in a couple of minutes, we're going to do the next one. You know what? I don't know if we actually talked with her about this, but I'm going to talk about a subject really quick. And I everybody who watches or actually follows me on Facebook knows that a couple of weeks ago I had my reunion. No, I'll say it, 30th high school reunion. So now, what? Oh, now that I am old, you know, I am that old.
He's old.
And I'm going to talk to you really quick about something that happened during that night, and really threw me for a loop. And I'm going to open up here a little bit because, you know, this happened to me when I was growing up in high school and in junior high school. You guys, you know, back then, right now I'm 6'2", 185 pounds, okay? That's how much I weigh. That's how tall I am. Back in junior high and high school, I was probably 4'7", weighing 25 pounds. Okay, I was one of those nerdy guys who kept to myself, very small, very skinny. You know, I did have a lot of friends, and I got along with a lot of people. You know, that's just the way it was. But you always have those people out there who like to pick on the really weak and the really innocent. And that was me when I was growing up. And so, you know, a lot of people are talking about it now, about bullying. And, you know, a lot of people are, you know, get bullied at school, and they take it out on themselves, and they can either commit suicide or they take a gun to school to kill the people that are bullying them, right? When I was growing up, you know, I had, you know, several people bully me, you know, when I was growing up. It's just the way it is. That happened to me. And it was really bad. You know, it actually, I was very upset. There was 4 people in general actually 3 people that I did not care much for when I was growing up. And even through after high school, after graduation, after I went on into the real world, I always had those 3 particular people in the back of my mind. Like, I wish I could kill them because of what they did to me. That's the way I felt. Okay, let's go for the 10th caller right now again. Okay, 5th caller. Let's go for the 5th caller right now. And as Emerald tries to get the winner, I'm going to continue on with the story.
5th caller.
So
come on.
you know, as I was growing up, even this year, in the back of my mind, I always see these guys doing bad things to me. You know, either punching me or whatever. You know, and they really messed me up. So I always thought to myself, you guys know the Billy Madison, the movie where he is going through elementary school all over again, and he realizes bullying was a bad thing. So he calls back the people that he bullied, and that one particular person on the couch, after talking to him, he apologized, and he turns around and he writes Billy Madison and scratches his name off, right? Because he says, okay, well, he apologized to me, so I don't have to kill him. Well, I always envisioned bad things to these people, to these 3 guys in particular. And, you know, I always thought to myself, you know, if there wasn't a God, if there wasn't any police, I would go and I would take care of business. And I always think about that. Trust me, I mean, I was thinking about that all the time. Well, we went to the 30th, you know, we have like 350 people that graduated in our class. 350, right around there. We walked in the door, and, you know, at every reunion, if you've been to your reunions, they have a table with candles lit, and candles lit with pictures of the past students that have passed away. Well, Shell and I stopped, and I noticed 2 of the people on the 8 people that have passed away were the 2 people who used to bully me. They were now dead. And
Karma.
That took me back. I had to step back, and it looked like somebody socked me in the stomach. You know, then these 2 people were the worst ones of the 3. And they were in my graduating class. And now they were both dead. And I was thinking to myself, of all the times that I wish these people to die? Did I have something to do with this?
Whoa.
Okay.
That's a major thought.
Okay. Was it me thinking constantly, daily, weekly, monthly? I wish these people would die. I wish these people would die. And I actually asked God to take care of business for me. And then I find out 2 of the 3 are no longer living. Now, I don't know what happened to the 3rd one. Maybe, it's hard to find out the locations of the 350. Right. So, is it that these people don't know that this other particular person is now deceased and that's why they can't get a hold of them? And now all 3 are dead.
Whoa.
So, people think...
Okay, we got a winner.
We got a winner.
Can stop.
Who's it?
His name is Jeffrey.
There you go.
Jeffrey
so,
right on, Jeffrey.
When people say the power of prayer doesn't work, it's not prayer per se. It's thought. When people ask you to come over and pray for them, like let's say a person is on the deathbed, have cancer, and they have 30, 40, 50 people surround their bed, and they put their hand on them, and they wish good things and wish this person to survive the cancer or to come out of remission. And a lot of times it works. It's the power of thought. And that's when I thought, is it because of all those years I wished these people to die that they actually died? And I don't know if it was me. So it's something to think about, you guys. I'm going to leave you with that. And that actually happened. And actually, I'm a little shaking right now because I'm just talking about it. So I'm going to let you think about that. I want to thank Heidi Hollis for coming on tonight.
Thank you, Heidi.
And I want to thank everybody to tune in.
Thank you, everyone.
Tuning in. Thank you. And I'm a loss for breath right now telling that story. So come back next week, and we will have another good show just like tonight. So everybody, thank you very much. My name is Jeffrey for Alan and Emerald. I want to thank you for showing up tonight. Good night, you guys. Take care.
Bye.
You have been listening to Paranormal Central with Jeffrey Gonzalez and Alan Thomas, broadcasting worldwide at paranormalcentral.net and on artbell.com. Stay tuned for next time. Remember to keep your eyes to the skies, and we hope you witness something you cannot explain.
Looking for you, you're looking for me. We have to decide.